Hail, O Holy Comforter! Thy advent is now. Let all enter in to an understanding then of becoming a real person. On this day, when throughout Christendom the consciousness of men are revolving around those events connected with the Via Dolorosa, I desire to charge forth into the atmosphere of earth the understanding of ascended master reality in accordance with the holy law of divine beingness. Men, in their limited understanding, sometimes and oft conceive of the ascended masters and cosmic beings as though they were not real persons. They have a concept which is totally erroneous, that these great beings do not actually exist except in the minds of men. It is as though the question is being debated all over again as to whether or not, when a tree falls and there is no ear to hear, sound is created. We wish to call to your attention the fact that there are many vain and foolish arguments, doctrines and tenets of ideas which men hold that cause them to become enmeshed in all manner of delusions, whereas the great pure light of God, in its shining forth, reveals the real man in every Son of God whom he has created. Ye are made then by the power of his infinite love, and the molding factors of your being were intended to be the hands of the Eternal One, who created you first in his image, which is spirit, and then desired that spirit should also control the outer form, and that the outer form, the being and exterior parts thereof of man as a manifestation of God, should come under the dominion of the cosmic identity within. Unfortunately, the ranges of human thought have been limited and stopped by many ideas which men hold to their own hurt. But I am come this day, even I whom ye call Holy Amethyst, to charge forth the vibratory action of the infinite love of God, and the memory of the cosmic mother, and the memory of Mary, the mother of Jesus, into the world of men, that they may rightly assess the value of an ascended master in this day and age, and therefore come of age themselves in that understanding which will give to them awareness of their own blessed cosmic reality. Reality, precious ones, is the greatest gift that God can give to man, and it was in just that breathing, living hope of reality that he inspired man to live and breathed into man's nostrils the breath of life, that man might become a living soul made in the divine image. Is it then the fault of the blessed Creator that men have fallen haphazardly into the pits and delusions of error which have to the present day held the rounds of human creation bound in the viciousness of earth life, which was intended to be the beautiful opportunity of the ages for all, wherein they could master density, form and substance, and control all outer things by the power of the infinite Christ light within. Men and women today, as in ages past, do scoff at the things of God, and they mock at the things of the Holy Spirit, and they understand not the breath of his outgoing into what they have termed reality, but which is in reality the reflective world wherein the domain of God does express opportunity again and again that men may come to that position where they are able to know and to understand the great tides of reality within themselves. Each and every one of you, destined indeed to play a part in the vast cosmic drama, are parts of God's reality when you are able to seize that which has been called a scintillating fragment of God's honor bright. But when men stoop to do despot to one another, to consider in a suspicious manner that they are acting inconsistent with cosmic purpose, it is to bring about a closing of the door almost with a slam in the face of the eternal purposes that God has destined all to actually accept and understand. These purposes then are revealed to you from glory unto glory, even as by the Spirit of God. You do not seize it all in a moment. It is very much, precious ones, like a jigsaw puzzle. You are given a part one day and another part another hour, and little by little the glorious cosmic image is developed, that which you call the latent image springing forth into reality, not as full grown, but rather as first the child and then the man that does appear. Let us hope then that men understand that with the appearing even of spiritual manhood, there are certain processes by which men are developed, not only through the initiatic processes, but also through the natural evolution of being, whereby they rise according to the divine intent into that place where the reality and its brightness appears to them as a vision of loveliness, which they often seem to feel is actually the appearance of a great cosmic being, or in some cases a master. In reality, many individuals have gazed upon their own beloved God presence, their own mighty I am presence, and have thought that they gazed upon the face of an angel. So great then is the reality of every man that we today recommend to you a greater measure of concentration upon your own blessed divine reality. And I wish to speak a word now unto those among you who have in the midnight hours and often throughout the day called unto those of the ascended masters that they know and love, and asked for mighty assistance in directing yourselves according to the divine design. I wish to assure you that when bodily infirmities and the infirmities of age seem to manifest in your world, when disturbances arise in your personality and you are tried sorely by the doings of others, that heaven is watching your every move, and heaven is standing beside you, and the angels of God are assisting you in every measure possible to keep that equilibrium of consciousness which restores to you the boundaries of the old temple which God created and placed in Eden in the name of himself for each and every one of you. A temple beautiful, and a beautiful courtyard wherein the tree of life did stand in the midst thereof, that you might then receive the fruit of the tree of life and achieve your immortality, even as you receive healing from the leaves of that tree, which are for the healing of the nations. I am come then this day. I am come then this day. I am come then this day in order to raise you into a greater measure of your rightful cosmic domain. You say that the life that you now lead is an expression of God. I say that the day will come when, gazing backward in the mirror of life and upon the records of Akasha, that you will feel that this hour was a time when you expressed that which we will almost call not being. For the real person of man has not yet begun to appear, but it shall appear. And when it shall appear, you shall be like it. For that image must, in the individual's own consciousness, come forth, and the realities of that vision must be held by you and sustained by you as a breathing, living momentum of the infinite love of God. His hands must clasp your hands. His hands must be around the very substance of your form, and you must acknowledge their presence, and you must feel that God is revealing to you that awareness which has appeared but in a little measure as a vapor upon a glass, and then passed away through an endless seeming round of cycles appearing, which does not produce aught else save opportunity for all. And all must seize that opportunity individually, that their sovereign divine wills also do stand supreme before their presence, and they seek only to express that which God desires them to do. The human will, that mortal individual's will, must bow its knee to the divine will, and God must be all in all, that the glory of the Christ manifestation, appearing first then as the world of form, as the water, yes, as the water and the air are joined, and the earth is perceived as standing in the water and in the air, that men must understand that the individual baptism of the Spirit of life itself is the fire that must descend and be claimed by man as immortal birthright, that they must accept that fire, the precious violet fire of freedom's love, and all of the flames of God, which identify with the Paraclete, with the Holy Spirit, and with the manifestation of the cosmic intent. The real person then of the ascended masters stands revealed. Part ye the veil, and let us see what we shall do this day. Take the person of beloved Mother Mary, seen also to hold the very body of the infant Messiah in her arms, she to whom was revealed the wonder of his presence. I say to you that she did wear mortal garb and form, that she also in her earth life received criticism from those who were her neighbors and friends, and even in the spiritual Essene community there were criticisms of Mary many times for certain activities which she performed, which fell beneath the hammer of mortal opinion. But I say to you all that those who knew her and knew her well understood that here was a God a-borning, a woman who would become identified with the cosmic mother, and whose heart would become very great indeed, a heart pierced with sorrow and a heart pierced with grief, that would arise to understand the meaning, come to full measure, of a world aflame with pain and shadow and warfare and darkness and sin and evil and all negation, steeped and brewed as a witch's brew and cast out as poison substance to consume the image of the blessed eternal Christ, that she held as a flame pulsating within her arms, as a star that spanned the sky. I come to you then this day to call to your attention the radiance of the Christ image that did not die, neither was swallowed up by the flood which came forth from the dragon's mouth, but lived and lives still, to proclaim in this America the dawn, the renaissance of a new day, when the children of God, the children of all that is real, the blessed children of the promise, from all nations and kindreds and tongues and peoples, shall arise to understand what the meaning of a real person is, when they shall understand that they are real people, and that the ascended masters are real, very real. One of the tremendous appearances that Mary made in your own time almost was the appearance at Fatima, when the great miracle was performed before the eyes of the three holy children selected by karmic law and recompense to receive a manifestation of this blessed mother. I call to your attention then that those three holy children that received that vision were also in the Essene community and knew her in her state of imperfection, and they were chief among the critics of her at that time. It came to pass then that there was given to their eyes to see her in her glory, in performance and fulfillment of the great truth of God which he has spoken, saying, "And I will bring thine enemies to thy feet, that they may know how much that I have loved thee." Therefore every one who has espoused a sacred cause, every avatar, those who have lost their bodies being tossed to the lions in the Roman arenas, and those in this day and age who have suffered because of the opinions of men and the orthodox concepts of men which hold them in despot, shall also find that the day shall come when in the ascended state those individuals not yet freed from the thraldom of the senses and abiding and dwelling upon the earth planet shall also be brought to their feet, and shall see how much love God has expressed to them, having exalted them into the reality of their person, into their cosmic infinite reality, whose dawn is now, whose dawn is now, whose dawn is now, now, while you occupy the throne of flesh and blood, when the threefold flame, the three in one, manifests upon the altar of the heart. You must understand is the hour of opportunity. Now is the hour of the appearance of the Christ within the folds and recesses of your own consciousness. You must indulge yourself then in those spiritual exercises which will proclaim an activity of the valiant Son of God, leaping forth into manifestation and appearance in your own flesh, even as he has appeared in the flesh of every ascended master and cosmic being, to exalt you then and raise you above mortal thought and opinion, even as the sky is raised above the earth, as the mountains do raise themselves up, and they are crowned with the snow and the snow of purity, and as the shining of the sun upon the snows reflects the glory of that wonderful climactic happening when light descends toward purity, so then must your blessed beings be crowned with the glory and beauty of the living Christ, expressing to you, not in the thraldom of the senses, not in mortal opinions that would raise you to mortal ideas of mastery, but rather the opinions of the presence, when you understand the need to keep your hands off of the ark of being, and to keep your human will and human opinions off of the ark of your own identity. When the vast cosmic ark sweeps as a star across the east of your own being, and there appears to you the great day star from on high, the reality of the Christ image, and there flashes forth through the pineal gland center that light which is the dominant power of the Christ, and the thousandfold light of his presence appears in the thousand-petaled lotus of light, and the very brain becomes a fire and a flame with that essence which cups itself to receive the blessings of the ascension currents and the blessings of your immortal victory. You were created, each and every one, to be a real person, even as Mary is today a real and a dominant person. I tell you, if you were to see her today in her glory, it would be enough to make the demons tremble, and men too. I tell you that she stands today crowned with all the beauty of her wondrous victory, which has manifested for her in higher octaves of light. And she is not, as some have supposed, a simpering individual who has no light. There are those today throughout the world who, simply because of the proclamation of Catholicism that has upheld her assumption into heaven, have brought despot to her and have said that they would not have her image within their church or within their home because it was idolatry. I tell you that there is no statue or no creation of human nonsense that could ever do justice to this great being of light. And yet I do not find fault with the attempts of men to honor her by having a shrine to her in their home. This is not out of keeping with cosmic law and with cosmic precepts, providing men understand that she is not that image, but the image is a focus which she is able then to surround with her light and the aura of her being, even as she prefers to surround the adoration flame within your hearts. This day then, the day that the Lord God hath made, I proclaim to you in his name, by the power of the violet transmuting flame of Saint Germain, that the energies that God has sent forth from the beginning that compose the very substance of your own souls hold within them as atomic substance the power to explode you into that reality of being a real person, and to shatter the matrices of human thought and feelings, to drop the encased mold, to cause the flame to spring forth until the white ash of mortal substance, of delusion and of density does pass from the screen of your being, and it is replaced by the light from the projector of the mind of God into the world of form, and to stand as a real person this day. Then the Via Dolorosa becomes a place where you gladly walk, and you carry the human carcass along that road, and you hang it upon the cross of light, and you say to yourself, joyously do I die with Christ this day. And then upon the resurrection Sunday, you recognize that as Jonah himself was held in the heart of the whale, so the Son of Man, the light of man, was held through the 3 days of initiation while the outer man was being transmuted and changed by the power of the living Christ within, until he came forth, the victorious Son of heaven. Go thou then this day, I say, and do thou likewise. Place thy affections upon the cross. Place thy affections and all that is mortal. Let the crown of thorns be pressed into that ego of man, and let him mock then the Christ if he will. For God shall emerge victorious out the tomb, and shall show forth his victory over all human nonsense and human opinion. And the reality of the real person shall stand forth for each one who will accept the reality of themselves. For God hath made you, and there is no greater desecration than that you should accept all of the inconsistent ideas that you have accepted about yourself, to degrade yourselves and to pull yourselves down. Climb then this Good Friday the hill that leads to Golgotha. Place then your Corpus Christi upon that cross, and see it as a cross of light. Understand then that you can say this day of all mortal and human creation, Father, it is finished. Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. Return to become a real person. Let his hands guide you. Be not ashamed to show forth his identity. Stand forth in your robes of righteousness, and understand that the Lord has performed it this day, and that it is his service that is calling forth into action in you, each and every one, a mighty flame that shall endure and shine through the eternal ages as a diadem to his cosmic, infinite, eternal purposes, that without end shall carry forth his light into the desert places, the waste places, and the places of life that seem barren, until fulfillment shall come to pass. And out of fulfillment, life is born anew upon all planets and systems of worlds like unto your own, where the love of God within all human hearts, beating those hearts, sustains an activity that makes men real people as the ascended masters are. In God's name I thank you and bestow upon you my flame of love, and the purposes that God holds so dear, may you hold them so dear even as he does. Through the dusty trails of earth comes the snow-white dove of effulgent light the denizens of the deep, and those whose hearts are buried in silt, in mud, and in the slime of human emotion, see not the descent of the dove. They feel not, and as unthinking or dead men, they know not the lot of the spiritual man, he who is a devotee of the infinite fire, whose heart is attuned to the cosmic lyre. We then, tonight, in salutation to the ascension flame, and as a point of revivification, desire to intensify in the consciousness of the devotee a breathing awareness of the meaning of life as it is interpreted to the hierarchy by the cosmic beings and angelic hosts. Luxor is a flame. Luxor is the light. Luxor is a beacon of hope to the world. And though the desert, with all of its absence of normal vegetation, is apparent to those who journey to our abode, we have here in the midst of this burning austerity the awareness of the nature of God, the awareness of the seraphic emblem, the awareness of concentration to infinite purpose. And ours is not a race of puny men, but ours is a race of devotees devoted to the magnification of the concept of hierarchy. And the concept of hierarchy is a beautiful concept when it is known that those who lie upon stacks of hay and gaze at the sky and say, "We will play God's way another day," shall not know in that embodiment, no, not even a jot or a tittle of the magnificence of our light and of the meaning of the mysteries of God. They shall remain steeped in the brew of ignorance, and their souls shall pall, while their physical forms and their consciousness, like a moth that comes too nigh the flame, approaches God with a mock reverence and fails utterly to comprehend the purposes of life, which are to exalt the soul and to purify the being as goal-fittedness and security of a cosmic measure is revealed. Ours is not the will to conceal in the name of Almighty God. Ours is to reveal the tenets of a faith which invincibly will lead men onward to the purity of the purpose of creation and the revelation of the meaning of consecration to an ideal. Men swim in an ocean of ignorance, while there is an interpenetrating ocean of light in which they move and which they are unaware of. I come tonight to consecrate you to the purposes of our Father, and in the hope that one soul in this room at least would heed and understand the mysteries of which I speak, and would feel the energies which I wield, and would understand that I have come tonight for the purification of the souls of men, and to make them white and white again and again. You may say, O Serapis, Why would you make us white again and again? It is because I come tonight in memory of that great ascended being, Hermes. And I come to remind you of the beauty of that soul who also journeyed the pathway toward God and toward Christ's magnificence. Hermes Trismegistus, thrice illumined, Son of the Most High God, the revelator of truth in Egypt, who caused the flashing forth of the beams of Aton to flood o'er the landscape the golden unguents of Christ's illumination, and taught the souls of men long ago here as hierarch and devotee of the sun principle. What is the sun principle? Is it a mere amulet for a child to wear about the neck? Is it a string of beads or paltry substance? Or are we dealing with a vast cosmic idea couched in simple terms? I come to awaken within you tonight awareness of the coal, the one coal upon our altar, which is the root source of the ascension flame, because it embodies all of it. How can this be, O mystery of mysteries? How can this be? It is so, because God has made it so. And here, the mighty ascension flame pulsates in the ethers. And here, the souls of the illumined come, that they may receive the currents of our flame. And our flame is sent abroad, and it is sent abroad as upon fiery steeds, as upon winged steeds, and it flashes forth through the air, and it is born here, and it is born there, and it comes in response to holy prayer, and it illumines men, and it quickens them, and it raises them up, and it establishes them as those who desire so much to receive the sacred fire jewels of God within their form, that they do receive them. And an internal adornment is made, whereby a soul is no longer like unto other men. Men gaze upon individuals and they see the outer envelope. We gaze upon men and see the naked soul. And we see the accumulation of wrong thought and feeling. And we pray. And among our prayers are that men will be counted worthy to come to our temple and to abide, to understand our principles, and to be inspired by the brothers here who chant the glorious song, the mantram of the ascension, in daily hope that someone, somewhere upon the planetary body will feel the pulsations of the ascension currents and will have within them the generation of those currents, the regeneration of those currents, the uplift of the wings of light, the soaring power of cosmic levitation, the understanding that the thought must precede action, that there must fly from the heart a desire to be one with God for reunion, and that desire must supersede all other desires. Men say, we will not give up or sacrifice so much of ourselves. We insist that first you give unto us the gifts from on high, and we will then compare them with those gifts which we have, which are the ever-present and current life expression which we are, and then we will decide as to whether or not we will manifest the glory of the light. Ah, blessed ones, how they do err. Do they suppose that with one hand, reaching down into the cauldron of mortal thoughts and feelings, they can make a comparison with our light and hold in their right hand our light, while their left hand is connected with that seething cauldron and vortice of human emotion, I tell you nay. No one comes to us in doubt. We are not a group of doubters. We are men and women of faith, and we are men and women of consecration. And we have the fire of the seraphic host. And the fire of the seraphic host is that which I am charging tonight into the force field of this place in order that I might create in you the cosmic energy patterns which the brothers here have when they chant the great hymn to the Son of Life, saying, "Hear us, O God, hear us, O God, hear us, O hear us, O hear us, O God," and mean it with all their heart. It is true that we have asked them to learn the ancient censar, and they do not express this in the English language as I just did, but in the censar language, which embodies great qualities of thought and feeling, which, while similar to the English language, carry a special radiation and quality of the currents of life from the heart of God to mankind. This language was spoken on ancient Atlantis, and it is very beautiful indeed and charged with the hopes of the world to come. But I tell you, you must understand that you cannot hold on to the idea of a mortal individual life which you will keep and retain and determine to keep and retain, and then receive the fullness of the great power of the God flame that is the gift of God to your life stream as the ascension current takes you upward and onward in the spiritual evolution for which God hath made you. However, I want to point out that this does not mean that which most of you probably would think. It means a sweet surrender is born in your soul and the willingness to let go of that mold of mortal substance, that coil of mortal energy, that strange identity that like a chameleon is ever changing its form, that which you call I, and which is but a shadow of that which is to come. And you must trade that paltry coat of skins for your immortal resurrection and ascension garments. Yet men have been double-minded and unstable in their ways. Men have been of a mind to pursue both the life below and the life above. And they have thought that when they desired to renounce the life below and to seek the life above, that it meant an end to all things, but in reality it means only a beginning. For even that life which is below, which God usually returns to mankind, having once received it from them, becomes enhanced by the great cosmic flame of his love, and the world takes on a color, in fact, a beauty of another hue, and life becomes a sweet view of a paradise which you see through the veil of mortal thought and feeling, while mortal thought and feeling showing its true nature, not the leopard which cannot change its spots, but the substance which you have misqualified, which then you decide must be requalified by the divine flame within. And so, as you see through a glass darkly, you then begin to see face to face, and before your gaze there is portrayed the image of the divine man. The image of the divine man and the reality of the divine plan are all clearly arrayed as perspective before your perceptive consciousness. And as every tree and bush can become aflame with the glory of God, so you recognize that the mighty presence of life, your own beloved I am presence, is the only reality that you have ever known, and you desire to press into it and to have that cup to a full measure pressed down and sent into your world as divine grace, o'erflowing the lip of the cup, and as divine grace going out from your heart to all parts of life to mellow and transmute the substance of lesser men. men of lesser vision, men of lesser comprehension, men in whom abides the spirit of error, men who are caught by myriad delusions and who therefore are expressions of a woeful inadequacy. I have been called a disciplinarian, and I am. I have been called severe, and I am. I have been called a cosmic critic, and I am. But I am for a purpose, the manifestation of the fullness of that tension and hardness which refuses utterly to become a foppet before mankind and a thing that is but an idle expression. I am a being of purpose because I have externalized cosmic purpose. But what I have externalized is available to every one of you. If you will, you can express it. If you do not wish or choose to exert your wills, then you may express them in a willy-nilly manner and do as you will, while God continues to express the glories of his purposes in the eyes, being, and consciousness of those devotees who have consecrated the last farthing of their being and identity upon his altar. What is the altar of God? Have you thought upon it? I shall tell you tonight. The altar of God is the place where you alter conditions. Not a place of worship alone, but a place where the being and body of man is placed, even as Abraham placed his son Isaac. Man must place himself upon the altar, and the totality of his being must provide a willingness to slay lesser desires and to create cosmic desires. Unless men are willing to do this, I shall not fool you. They will abide and dwell in a state of consciousness where there is a burning condemnation of themselves by their own errors. They shall receive in themselves the recompense of their errors, which is meet by cosmic law. And they shall find that the dweller upon the threshold of their being is very fierce and very terrible. And they shall recognize that this is that which they have created. Whereas God has created the perfect divine man, the perfect image, the perfect consecrated plan, the purity of his ideals, and the love of his expression, and has conveyed it by Christ's manifestation into the world of every avatar that has ever walked this planetary body. And I tell you, as this messenger has told you, that there is hope for every one of you who will recognize now that that hope is within you, and will then desire to latch onto that hope as you would latch on to a life raft or to a lifesaver thrown to you in a turbulent sea. You cannot, blessed ones, feel that you are aloof from your eternal presence and then expect to find your freedom. We are a hierarchy of light, and we are a body of devotees, and every expression here at Luxor is designed and calculated to create those disciplines of the Spirit by which the souls of men are purged in the fiery furnace of life experiences to become a manifestation of the living Christ. A God, then, is truly born among men, and the day star from on high does manifest in your hearts. This is no robbery. It is no expression of human idealism. It is the expression of divine idealism. It is the fulfillment of cosmic purpose, and without it, your destiny is dust. But with it, your destiny is spirit and life and quickening and thunder and lightning and the flashing glimmer of the cosmic face of God. The latent image will develop within you, and as a photographer develops through chemical processes the image latent upon the plate or upon the film, so the negative side of life will be perceived as a womb of creation where the spiritual power of the Lord God of hosts manifests. And the day star flashes forth first as a burst in consciousness, and then as a determinate effort to secure for oneself all of the glories of the cosmic plan. We are seraphim. We are seraphim. We are seraphim. And the brothers here come under the seraphic influences. My name, Serapis, has only then a meaning of fiery concentration to the ideal purposes of God. and not to the ideals of individuals who express, as their brethren do, upon the life planet Earth, and express upon this planet a life that is not of worth, but a life that is filled with dross and loss and no compensation according to the cosmic effort which God hath wrought in behalf of each life stream. For whether you will or not, the plan was revealed by cosmic Fohat, and it was flashed forth, and it was not concealed in the beginning from your own eyes. And thus, when the morning stars sang together, and the sons of God danced for joy, you were there, beholding in the full glory of the light your own God manifestation, your own I am presence, your own individualized expression of God. And you recognized yourself as a manifestation of God. And you joined in with those cosmic choruses. When the descent to earth came, there was a dimming and a concealment of the cosmic light. And this has diminished mankind's consciousness and caused him to become, as it were, flattened upon the rug, the flying carpet of ancient fame. And now we find the rug reposing upon the earth beneath, and man lying seated upon it. And I mean literally lying seated upon it. And so to speak, he has pulled the rug out from under himself, and now he abides upon the bare earth, and the scorched earth policy of mortal life is his reward. Whereas the flying carpet of Baghdad is a true reality and was once used by the ascended masters, and still is, by the way, as a means of conveyance. And on rare occasions we have taken individuals in their physical bodies and have carried them through the ethers and up into the higher atmosphere upon a magic carpet. Now, if you wish or choose to do so, call me a fool. Say that I lie. Say that this is not true. Say that this messenger is creating a figment of his own imagination. Do what you will with this. The truth remains, and it remains before God, and it is the inheritance of the elect. If God then can create a magic carpet, and human beings can lie seated upon it, you may wonder why I say lie seated upon it. Well, I have a purpose, and I want you to think about that. If they then lie seated upon it, what then happens, precious ones, to an individual who is given the power of the ascension flame within them until it consumes all the dross? Do they require a carpet upon which they are seated in order to rise? I think not. They rise by the power of the light, and that power of the light is the light that is within themselves, and so it can truly be said that men rise by their own bootstraps, for God has energized men according to their capacity and willingness to receive his plan. What is there in man that causes him to doubt the fulfillment of cosmic purpose? Ask yourself this question. How many of you, precious ones, could create life? And yet men who have no power to create life, no power whatsoever except to misqualify life or qualify it, why is it that they seem to feel that they are qualified to judge the cosmic purpose and plan of life and to decide that they will be paltry individuals who will not express the reality of the divine plan? Why is this? Precious ones, it is because they exalt their egos and debase their cosmic identity. And in the debasement of cosmic identity and the exaltation of their egos, they have literally turned life into a black mass, a reversal of the cross of light, and they have turned life upside down. And, precious ones, the saddest words of tongue or pen are these, that it might have been for each of these. For many individuals, precious ones, have a great desire to pursue the path of truth, but they simply cannot find it in their hearts to accept truth, and they always seem to accept the error and believe the lie quicker than they will accept the truth of life, which is resident within themselves. Life that beats your hearts desires to have you free. Life that beats your hearts desires to have you, saith the Lord, me. You then are intended to be the full expression of God upon this earth planet. And this is no desecration. It is the law, and it will be fulfilled. I am aware tonight of the need to transmute a great deal of gross substance in this room. And therefore, while it is true that there is a certain quantity of accumulated heat here, I want to assure you, ladies and gentlemen, that some of the heat which you are feeling is not a physical heat, but is a transmutative heat, which is created by the seraphic hosts as they are outbreathing upon the coal of fire from the altar of God that is within your individual force fields and hearts. The purpose of it is to prepare you for the ascension currents which we will release throughout this class, which will be released into the force field of certain individuals and give them a very mighty and tremendous release toward their own ascension in the light. In order, however, to have this gift, it will be necessary for all of you to do everything in your power to keep the harmony every hour of this class and remain consecrated to the purposes of the class of the ascension. You must keep the harmony, you must recognize the law of God and the law of life, and you must understand that though we speak through mortal lips, we are speaking by the power of the infinite Spirit that abides in you all and in every man, woman, and child upon this planet, and desires to express to all the full compassion of the love of God without limit or surcease. While I have been speaking, the transmutative flames have risen still higher. And if perchance you feel as if you would melt, some of you, I call to your attention that this is good, for it is our desire to bring about a purification not only of the force field, which is a great expression of purity already, but also of the individuals here who have offered themselves to us in cosmic consecration. Those individuals deserve to be recognized, and I am recognizing you tonight, and I am recognizing you as beings of light, and as beings whose core is white fire substance of freedom and of freedom's flame. Therefore, rejoice tonight in that which we have designed as the purpose of this class in cosmic fulfillment. For every one of you in whom the Spirit of life is, and who will recognize that Spirit of life and salute it tonight, cannot help but receive some portion of that flame which I am bringing tonight and which I am using to regenerate within you the tremendous impetus of the same spiritual currents that in Jesus the Christ manifested the power of his victory over life, and therefore tonight is the fulfillment of his promises to mankind that down the corridors of the centuries has ensured mankind that God's eye is over the righteous and his ear is open to their cries. I have heard every prayer that you have uttered this day, and I have heard the prayers of your life. This is the word of God, which he has sent through me, Serapis Bey, into this place and into the world for the consecration of the cosmic honor flame of God and to the fulfillment of that purpose which brings such waves of joy to your hearts as to be indescribable. I come to you tonight then to complete the purposes which I stated to the great karmic board before I came, and I am determined throughout this class to let my radiation remain with that of every other ascended master and cosmic being, with every angelic being, and with the hearts of the faithful, who, although wearing mortal garb, shall one day, and I say soon, which means any time within the next 100 years, and this is very short to us, join me at Luxor in preparation to receive your own immortal garments, born of the solar logos, born of the fire of the sun, born by consecrated effort, and able to bear you on high to where God waits to greet and receive you, each one as sons of his heart, in that vast cosmic reunion of purpose, which is the reunion with the Lord and his Christ, every one, every avatar, every son of God, everyone who has ever passed through this veil, then will stand as one mighty chorus of lives consecrated to cosmic effort, to greet you, to welcome you, to clasp your hands, and to bless your hearts with that light which is upon the mountain tonight, and which is the summit of each man's being, the crowning achievement of his life, and the crowning blessing of God's hope for every one. In the name of Almighty God, I, Serapis, and the brothers at Luxor salute you in the bond of your immortal freedom. And as the phoenix rises from the desert floor, as there is restored the power of the old residual magnetism of cosmic effort within men, there is an unshuffling of the mortal coil, and man's energies of misqualification fall away as a tired garment of dust, and that which arises is the full glory of the phoenix bird, that as legend would have it, and as truth does make it, does then fly into the heaven of heavens, the abode of the gods, the abode of the one God, who in the hearts of the many chants the hymn to Aton, O God, most holy, thou art one. I, Serapis, bid you adieu, and I place a fiery triangle before the inner eyes of your vision to view a hope, to renew a hope, to reveal a hope, and to hold you riveted to the divine image, the cosmic magnet that drew Jesus upward in the ascension, in the light, and will, if you will make it, become the magnet that will draw you upward into the light. I thank you. Sign of the heart and the head and the hand to you. May the peace of your presence abide with you wherever you are, wherever you go. May the glorious peace of your presence flow through days of service and nights of rest. May the peace from your presence keep you blessed. The sign of the heart, the head and the hand to you. May Lord Gautama's cosmic cross of white fire watch between thee and me, as we are absent the one from the other and ever present with our God.
Goddess of truth, wearing the helmet of love, bearing the shield, protecting the real, thy sword of truth from above. Come and shrine the living word, the emerald glory of truth. Oh, come, Holy Spirit, now reveal the mystery of life to our youth. Lead every parent, teachers, and children, quicken with purpose divine. May holy wisdom sent from above help them reality find. Mother of world, our dear Athena, daughters of flame we invite. Teach us the way, the truth, the light, perfection of God upright. Come, all mankind, let us reason together, the law of the Christ let us hear. Humbly we listen and gratefully follow the truth and the light that you bear. Pallas Athena, patron of youth, comforting spirit of truth, serving the nations, great comic Lord, justice of God execute. Bless the holy Vestal Virgins, free. To all heavenly hosts we sing thy praise, and gratefully sit at thy feet. Help us unveil the jewel of truth. All nations and kindreds and tongues shall see thy glory cover the earth, waken the hearts of the young. As Athena, Vesta dear, O anchor the light of the sun into the planet Earth today, the victory of God in one. Righteousness always and destiny understand, O soul immortal thou art. Lovingly trusting thee, Pallas Athena dear, may thy truth live in each heart.
How magnificent is thy word, O God, as it resounds through the corridors of the universe. Wise men, filled with their own conceits, seek to probe by the facets of mortal mind in their limited circumstances the ways of the Most High God. I am come then this day, that I may raise the veil upon the myriad mysteries of life, affording a glimpse to life's streams whose hearts seek progress, that they may behold God in his ways of eternal truth. The geometric expression of the Most High God is carefully preserved in our internal temple of truth. There, every geometric figure traced as upon purple velvet tapestry by curtains and ribbons, by streamlets and manifestations of living flame, reveals the circle of fire, the triangle of fire, the square of fire, the tetragrammatron, and all of the geometric figures known to man, and many which are not yet understood or fathomed. Hidden in these flame manifestations of God expressions are all the matrices of nature, of those things which were, of those things which are, and of those things which are yet to come. No trial or error composes these forms into their substance of substances, into manifestation, into reality, but the mind of universal love, whose epic manifestation is in every Manvantara and Pralaya, the perfection of eternal truth, the penetration by the mind of God and the mind of Christ resident within you into this blessed substance of his own creation. Ye are his offspring, and while men muddle in doctrine and meddle in concept and are confused by themselves and one another, the pure power of light expression in the universal temples of God continues to pour forth the wondrous manifestation of the divine plan for the beholding mind to see, that the known may be cognized by the knower within. He within who knows and perceives truth may by the depth of his perception for all time, for time immemorial per se, behold the divine plan. Is this a mechanization as men have achieved? I say nay. It is the precision of the divine plan, the opulence of the heart of God that prospers the soul. It is the happiness of the decades, of the centuries, of the millenniums, of the cycles, of the parade of pralayas and manvantaras. The cosmic dance, the manifestation of cosmic supremacy, manifesting before the vision of men and giving them, as the veil is raised, a glimpse of the joys that are to come. What then is it in mortal affairs that creates dalliance? Why do men continue to process themselves according to the old habit patterns structured after death and sickness and decay? Is it because they have not seen our octave or believed in it? We seek not to condemn the world. We seek to inspire men and women that they may cast off the dust of centuries of trial and error and enter into the domain of the Lord God of creation, who made of old Leviathan to occupy the thrashing seas. From whence cometh light? From whence cometh darkness? From whence cometh the parade of opposites? Thesis and antithesis. What are these but the turn of ideas in the mind of man, while the true revelation of the geometric manifestation, the glorious energy outpouring, geo, in the measurement of his heart to produce trial and error as opportunity, geometric, measurement of spirit and measurement of truth. Of old, as men came to the temple of Thebes to worship in Egypt the gods of the Egyptians, they were already stirred by the condemnation of their burning conscience, as the ancient cults of Ishtar and all of those false gods sought to rear their head against the living and true God, the one God, called by Akhenaten Aten, but revealed clearly as the fire descended upon the mountain in response to the prayer of Elijah. Baal was no God. The God of Israel, the God of creation, the living and true God in many forms is one. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one God. And out of the temple of truth, the streaming ribbons of fire, the fohat of the divine idea, come forth as upon Sirius, the God star, to reveal to men that the trembling of God's wrath in the cup is the wrath of God that seeks to produce the beauty of his intended manifestation ere the dalliance of men cause them to come to such boredom as to literally commit cosmic suicide. The divine plan, precious ones, and lovers of truth, must be externalized and beloved in the heart ere it can manifest in form, in mind, in act. Within the heart, within the central soul, the central sun, the place within each life stream where the pivot point of the eternal day star does anchor must become the repository of every heavenly treasure and every sacred fire jewel, the rubies with their brilliant flashing beauty, the opals with the myriad colors of the rainbow and the crystal purity of the milky white, the glory of jasper, the glory and iridescence of the amethyst, the purity of crystalline substance descends. And within the heart of the earth the jewels do manifest. And in their manifestation there is the essence of freedom for the wearer who understands. But men and women of substance and stature, even as Le Comte du Saint-Germain, have also understood how to manifest the jewels of the heart. These adorn within as centers of wisdom and foci of power the mortal form and act as cosmic tympani to create the sounding within the bones and the substance of the flesh form and within the etheric body and within the mental body and within the emotional body of the Word incarnate, the tissue between substance is white firelight in those who are endowed with grace that raises the body form into the majesty of the eternal. The cosmic egg of light is drawn and surrounds the form by the magnetization of the heart of love, and love for the truth draws to a life stream, the power and energy of which universes are made, mind stuff of God, mind stuff of Christ, mind stuff of man, the substance of very substances out from the great central sun, the light that commands the word, the life that commands and is Lord, the strength of the two-edged sword that divides and separates light from darkness, flesh from spirit, and mortality from immortality, and yet provides the same impetus of the geometric forms in all octaves from the heart of the great central sun and the sun behind the sun to the physical manifestation on the lowest orb of all planetary bodies everywhere throughout universal consciousness. I am truth. And the proof of that is all around you. There are none so blind as those who will not see. There are none so blind as those who will not perceive. There are none so blind as those who walk in the darkness of their limited mortal facilities and their tender experiences that have not yet been tested or proven in the crucible of Almighty God and the resurrection of the life into everlastingness. The manifestation of a God born as a star, a nova, to flash forth into magnificence and perform a work perforce. That is the work of God, whether that work be the work of the Baptist, of the Nazarene, or of your modern day seekers for the mysteries of universal science, providing with humble heart they can offer themselves to the Lord of creation for his glory. As I now gaze upon the karmic record of mankind, I behold again and again and again the self-same manifestations of mortal thought and feeling that desires to create a monument to the ego or the name of the individual. Again and again men are caught in a net that seeks to preserve the finite self and to honor it by their achievements. It has become, as in past ages, old-fashioned for men to seek to give to God the glory and to recognize that that glory given unto him is the substance of that which was won. It is the laurel of achievement, and by giving the glory back to the universal heart of God, it becomes the blessing of every man, of every angel, of every deva, and it is the means whereby all life is raised into its perfection. When this is denied by mankind, and they lavish that essence upon themselves, it always becomes the nothingness of nothing. For it is destroyed in the process of transmission to the self, because the self is unworthy of it at all times, for flesh and blood, or individual manifestation of God, or an individual ego is not able to retain the fire and essence of the glory of God, which must of necessity return to the great portal of his heart, in order that again it may come forth, even as unto Skarana, to be spun out as the web of universal life, everywhere multiplied and multiplied and multiplied, as grace expands, 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 and forever expands. Dam up the flow, stop it, if you will, and you deny yourself the treasures of immortal life. Give it unto God, and it returns to you and to all men with the thundering grace that transforms by the flash of the light a glimmer of his reality into thyself. The alchemy of cosmic majesty, the test tube of man, then becomes the altar of God's heart. And it is no test tube where strange formulas are compiled and they are dropped willy-nilly as paint is splashed upon a board or a canvas and called an act of creation. We then say to you all, in this day when the world has lost her culture and seeks in vain as with a lamp to find it, saying, where, oh where is this culture of God's love? At that precise moment then in time do we come to say to the world, emptied of divine grace in a relative sense, the cup of his wrath is yet trembling, and waiteth the manifestation of the thrice-born Son. Christ, Buddha, Hermes, Trismegistus, thrice illumined, they are all offspring of God's heart. And as in mythology from the heart of Zeus sprung fresh the power of Jove, the lightning flash, the glimmer of his face is seen in every son who can catch the vision first. And in that first catching, remember to retain it throughout life and until life becomes immortal. Men must become immortalized by God. They cannot become memorialized by man, for even the gates of memory would pale into insignificance beside the face of truth and reality. God geometrized. God created truth, and its matrices cannot be distorted. Mortality is an inadequacy. Divinity is a sufficiency. Time is an opportunity. Purity is the wiping of the record clean. Tenderness is receptivity. Love is God. In the name of the temple of truth, in the name of the universe of truth, in the name of the God of truth, I, Pallas Athena, bid you hail and farewell. Sign of the heart and the head, the hand to you. May the peace of your presence abide with you wherever you are, wherever you go. May the glorious peace from your presence flow through days of service and nights of rest. May the peace from your presence keep you blessed. Sign of the heart and the head and the hand to you. May Gautama's cosmic cross of white fire watch between thee and me as we are absent one from the other. May we be present ever with the Lord. Faith is his glory. Faith is his strength. Faith shineth unto a perfect day. Out of the depth of the riches of his wisdom, his light shines over the kingdoms of the world, and changes the kingdoms of the world to become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ. By the power of the transcendent light within his heart, we are magnified again and again from little beginnings until we become all that God intends us to be, and more than we have dreamed of in our philosophy. Gracious ones who seek to externalize the love of God within thee is an ineffable source of strength that is a mighty retreat to feed the soul upon the divine manna, to subscribe to his tenets, the dogmas of his law, and the love of his heart. The simple thirst that men have for him is the origin of their desire to become one with him, to desire to identify with God, to desire to identify with his light, is to have an eternally green sprig clutched within the right hand, to feel the power of the divine shamrock, to understand the meaning of keeping the soul fresh for God, of keeping the mind fresh for God, of keeping the emotions fresh for God, is to understand that this, when completed, as the four-leaf clover becomes the good luck charm for every soul who completes the manifestation of the eternal freshness of God in the four lower bodies, and seeks to raise all of the bodies into a beautiful outpicturing of the kingdom of God that is within you. The love of God is no figment of imagination. The love of God is the truth and strength of his heart. It is the power of your right arm. It is the power that will sustain you over the rough places of life. And when men think ill of you and speak ill of you and feel that there is naught in you that is virtuous, you must recognize not the power of their error, but the power of the truth of God which is within thyself as the sustainment of thy life's energy and the vital energy that will take you over these rough spots when mortal opinion seeks to grate the fine substance of the soul and cause you to be chastened. Rejoice then in the heart of God that sees all that is within man by his light and knows every thought of man's heart, and yet chooses to bless him with new beginnings, eternally fresh opportunities that make life not only beautiful but interesting, as God provides ever new vistas before the eyes of the soul. We who seek to enrich mankind by the vibratory actions of our thoughts are eternally mindful of the fact that while hindrances may exist, they have no power to move against the dauntless soul, against the individual whose determination becomes strengthened by each attack upon the plan of life that is before that one. When men attack the plan or the person of man, there is no room in the inn of the dauntless soul to accept that as a fiat of injustice, but rather to recognize that the source was not from God and is therefore stemming from human sorcery. It stems from the mind of man that, like a snake, writhes and moves and seeks to pervert the divine plan in manifestation. But surely the seed of God shall bruise the serpent's head, and all mortal knowledge shall one day bow to the Christ intelligence and illumination that is within the heart, that is the power to provide these fresh starts that are needed by men as they, in their lesser wisdom, seek to derive from the Godhead the higher wisdom that will take them through all of the pathways that lie before them, many of which are strewn with thorns and thistles of mortal human creation. Ours then tonight is to strengthen the hearts of men and cause them to sense what is behind our crown and mitre. Our crown is the crown of devotion to the mind of Christ, and our mitre is to fit our lives into the temple beautiful, where not merely an old castle will grace some strange glen, but rather a magnificent edifice will rise into the ethers, a beautiful place or house where God can dwell. Have you thought upon yourselves as a building? Have you thought upon yourselves as a building of lively stones, comprehending the grace of God in greater measure from day to day? Or are you of the opinion that your ideas are simply ideas that exist for a time and then vanish, that you yourselves will exist for a time and then, as in the poem concerning the Arabs, fold your tents and silently steal away? Yours is not to steal away, except to commune with God and to turn aside from the way of the world. When you commune with God long enough and you hold fast to his hands long enough, the circlet of his love becomes an electronic essence which passes through thy flesh form and changes that form into the majesty of the divine intent. As you will recall, when David Lloyd placed his hands in the hands of beloved Godfrey, it was to complete the circuit and cause the great power of life resident within David Lloyd to be released. The essence of the supreme power of the ascension flame then took him into the atmosphere, and there dropped from his flesh form the very appearance of physical age and the densities of mortal reason. Ours then tonight is to bring to you the great light of God, the great love of God, and the great power of God, to keep you eternally green and fresh and wonderful, to keep sparkling upon you the diamond-like dew of the eternal will of God, to change you from glory unto glory, even as by his Spirit, and to cause you to understand that there is nothing in life that man can do that you need fear, but only to understand the power of his word, which is ever near, a mighty power of love, the power of the I Am presence, to shake the spear of truth even before the dragon's face, and to say, I refuse to slacken my intent and my pace, for I long to behold and to see the glory of thy face. lingering now in the fading light of earth, I see upon thy lips a smile of heavenly mirth, a feeling that does come from bond eternal, created by the love and light that is supernal, the ray that crowns today and every day the mind of man with sense of plan, to know, to do, to dare to be all that God intends for thee. A crown, a star, a diadem that longs to become one with hearts attuned to fire and inspire, and make men to feel the freedom of the power of that pen which is mightier than the sword, to defend the plan, to be adored, to consecrate, to lift all up where God and God alone does come to view, to make all one, to change the hue of mortal dye and stain by power of true blue that seeks to gain the will that will fain lift all and hold all and share with all that plan to free from pain and ideas made by man. Defend ye then, O one and all, the light, the power, the truth, the way. For God has come to you today and every day. His communion cup to lips does come and seeks to bring you ever home. Where I am, there ye may be. Where I am, ye shall be free. Hear then the power, the prayer, the love of life. Hear then the power, the love, the prayer of all who love life. For I am here and I am there. I, Saint Patrick, do on this occasion bless you by the power of illumination's flame. I say, may it blaze in God's name and enable ye one and all to draw from the heart of God the mighty distaff that has spun a flame of golden illumination's thread, to enter your hearts and let you weave a garment of heaven instead of mortal cocoon of ignorance wrapped around and destroying the soundness of the body fair. Hear then our plea, our prayer, and be free indeed from all despair and all that causes men to listless be and without strength. For I am come to strengthen the bonds of tranquility, to strengthen the bonds of cosmic industry, to strengthen the bonds of immortality, to make a thread, a golden thread, to adhere to your being, to clear the way and set you free, to help you to unfold in the world today the pages of the endless plan of God for every man. Pax vobiscum. In the name of the eternal Father, the eternal Son, and the eternal Spirit, be thou made one, even as we, by the bonds of divine freedom, are one. This is the wise dominion of God. We are fortunate to have had the blessing of St. Patrick tonight given to us. It was not what I had anticipated. I did not know what he was going to do. I did not know that he would come in the bonds of sweet simplicity. As you all know, the masters can be so profound that we don't even know what they're talking about. Or they can be so simple that they are like children. I am grateful, as I'm sure you are, for his blessing, which I feel was given to us in order to help us in this season to be ready for what is coming at Easter. Will you please, will you just play a little melody, please? St. Patrick, friend not only of our land, but of all lands, of all people, of all kindreds, of all tongues. Because thou art in God, and there is naught in thee but God, we know that God in thee is glorified, and God in each of us was glorified by thy blessing. We accept that blessing. We accept that gentle but sweet caressing of thyself, of thy hands ministering in divine service, of thy gentle spirit, of thy firmness, of thy youth, of thy buoyancy, as a proof of thy immortality. We adhere then in thought and purpose to the master plan of our beloved I Am presence, to the beloved plan of the God of gods who spoke to Moses saying, I am that I am. We ask that the strength of the I Am presence through the heavenly hierarchy of ascended masters shall flow tonight into the world. Bless all of St. Germain's activities everywhere. Let the leaders and the followers alike be showered with the blessings of thy heart toward the unity of purpose, which will make of the world a beautiful place, even as it does affect us individually to make our lives beautiful by the touch of thy hand, of thy spirit, of thy presence. Command us then now to be free. Command us to be thee. Command us to be thyself in action here, in the world of form, in the little children, in the more mature, in those of age. Let all reflect, unafraid, the confidence that as we nestle our hand in thee and in thy hand, thou wilt not betray us. Surely thou hast said, thou wouldst not leave our soul in Sheol, nor suffer thine Holy One to see corruption. Thy way is indeed the way of peace, and thy beauty will release in us the flame of beauty, the flame of consecration, the flame of eternal youth, the flame of strength, of character, of nobility, of light, and of the all power of God. As we are empty, fill us with thyself. As we are filled, empty us of ourselves. As we are weak, fill us with thy strength. As we are strong, empty us of our own strength to do evil, and replace it with the love that, guided by wisdom, moves us to our immortal destiny. Let end now a sense of individuality and separation. Let begin now a sense of unified consecration, of completion, of going on, of progress, of thy strength, of thyself. Do thou, God, then seal each one of these thy children in the supremacy of the light. Secure upon all the pinions of cosmic flight, the power to rise into the air as did the Christ, the power of the ascension flame, the power of reconsecration day by day to God's name, to God's purpose, to God's light. We thank thee and accept it done right now with full power. It is done right now with full power. Thine is the kingdom, thine is the power, and thine is the glory, forever and forever and forever.